In today's show, U.S. troops could target cartels in Mexico. Millions see partial food aid restored. And two consumer giants join forces in a record-breaking deal. Plus thousands of flights delayed. Federal agents foil a Halloween terror plot. And a Gen Z employee's viral breakup time-off request? Well, it sparks debate online, and I'm eager to know where you stand on it. And here's the trivia question. Which future president, while running for state office, spent nearly his entire campaign budget on booze? It's Tuesday, November 4th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. It's Election Day in many local communities, so if there's a race happening where you live, I hope you'll take a few minutes to get out and vote. Democracy really does start at the local and state level, and with each of us showing up. All right, let's take off with the biggest headlines of the day. The Trump administration is reportedly planning a covert military and intelligence operation targeting Mexico's drug cartels. According to officials, the plan, still in early discussions, would involve limited ground operations and drone strikes carried out under intelligence authority, allowing the U.S. to move forward without Mexico's direct coordination if necessary. President Trump has designated major cartels as terrorist groups, expanding legal authority for such actions, and says law enforcement alone hasn't been enough to stop drug trafficking. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has rejected the idea of U.S. troops on Mexican soil, but has allowed expanded CIA surveillance and troop deployments near the border. Meanwhile, a leaked federal memo warns cartels are offering $10,000 to attackers targeting Border Patrol agents in Texas, some posing as soldiers, a sign of rising cartel tension near the border. Next, the Trump administration also announced it will use $4.65 billion from contingency funds to cover half of November's SNAP benefits for roughly 42 million Americans who depend on the food assistance program. The move follows a federal court order requiring the government to resume payments despite the ongoing shutdown. Officials say the rest of the emergency funds will be held back to support child nutrition programs, leaving no financial cushion for new applicants or disaster aid. And in business news, Kimberly-Clark, the company behind brands like Huggies and Kleenex, is acquiring Kenvue, the maker of Tylenol, Listerine, and Band-Aid. The cash and stock deal is worth about $48.7 billion and is expected to close in the second half of 2026. The merger will create one of the largest consumer health and household goods companies in the world, bringing an estimated $32 billion in annual revenue. Kimberly-Clark shareholders will own just over half of the new combined company, which will remain headquartered in Texas. Here are your top political headlines. It's Election Day across the country, with voters heading to the polls for local and state races nationwide. Some of the biggest contests include New York City's mayoral race between Democrat Zohran Mamdani and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, the New Jersey governor's race between Republican Jack Ciattarelli and Democrat Mikey Sherrill, and the Virginia governor's race where Democrat Abigail Spanberger is facing off against Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears. Democrats are also far outspending Republicans in those key races, especially in Virginia and New Jersey, with ad spending differences reaching into the tens of millions of dollars. Meanwhile, prediction markets on the platform Kalshi show that traders are betting Democrats will sweep all three major races, New York, New Jersey, and Virginia, though actual results could tell a different story by tonight. And in Washington, a bipartisan group of House lawmakers has proposed a compromise plan to end the government shutdown. The deal would temporarily extend Obamacare's enhanced tax credits, but phase them out over time and add an income cap for high earners. Lawmakers from both parties say it's a starting point for serious negotiations after weeks of gridlock. Here are some of those bonus stories just for listeners of the Flyover podcast. U.S. airports are facing widespread delays as the federal government shutdown enters its second month. More than 5,000 flights were delayed Sunday, with the Department of Transportation citing staffing shortages as the main cause. Air traffic controllers, considered essential workers, have been working without pay, and some are thinking of leaving their jobs. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned the system is already short 2,000 to 3,000 controllers, and that financial strain could worsen the situation. Major airports, including Chicago O'Hare, Newark, JFK, and Atlanta, saw the heaviest disruptions Monday, with more than 800 delays reported. Next, 2 U.S. citizens have been arrested in Michigan for allegedly plotting an ISIS-inspired attack timed for Halloween, according to court records unsealed Monday. The 2 suspects allegedly referred to their plan as Pumpkin Day and had purchased firearms and a modified trigger to increase their weapons' rate of fire. Prosecutors say the men practiced shooting at multiple ranges and shared ISIS-related propaganda through encrypted apps and social media. Conversations among the group reportedly referenced previous terror attacks in Paris and at Orlando's Pulse nightclub, suggesting similar intent. Officials say the arrest stopped the plot before it could be carried out, with Attorney General Pam Bondi thanking the FBI for, quote, preventing a potential tragedy. And here we go. A Gen Z employee's time off request to recover from a breakup went viral after their manager shared it online. The short, straightforward email said the following. It said, quote, I recently had a breakup and haven't been able to focus on work. I need a short break. I'm working from home today, so I'd like to take leave from the 28th to the 8th. The manager approved it without question. The post drew millions of views, with some praising the worker's honesty and openness about mental health. Others, though, criticized it as unprofessional and a sign of declining workplace standards. So, here we go, Flyover family. If you were the manager, would you give that much time off for a breakup? I would not, but the comment section is always open, and I can't wait to read your responses. There's more shows still ahead, a nationwide food safety alert, billion-dollar dreams of space living, and a luxury housing boom just outside New York. We've got the details coming up. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Nimi Skincare. For those of you wondering what I use to keep my skin looking healthy, clear, and glowing, my answer is simple. Nimi Skincare. Nimi's anti-aging skincare line works wonders. They have this 3-step anti-aging routine, and it's packed with powerful, clinically backed ingredients that work. This routine restores your skin barrier, boosts collagen production, and reduces fine lines and wrinkles, locks in moisture, brightens for a healthy, radiant glow. And here's what I love most. Not only do the products deliver results, but Nimi is proudly American-made. Every formula is crafted here in the USA while staying true to their values of faith, family, and freedom. Right now, Nimi is giving my listeners 15% off of your order when you use the code FLYOVER at checkout. So all you have to do is go to NimiSkincare.com today, stock up on that 3-step anti-aging routine, and see the results for yourself. Visit NimiSkincare.com, use the code FLYOVER, and thank me later. All the info, by the way, is in the show notes below. In finance news, in the auto industry, several major car makers are reporting sharp drops in electric vehicle sales now that federal incentives have expired. Ford says its EV sales were down 25% in October compared to last year, while Toyota sold just 18 of its BZ electric cars. That's a big drop from more than 1,400 sold during the same month in 2024. Kia and Hyundai also saw major declines. In tech, OpenAI has signed a massive $38 billion deal with Amazon Web Services, its first ever contract with the cloud giant. The agreement signals that OpenAI is starting to diversify beyond Microsoft's cloud infrastructure, which it's relied on heavily since launching ChatGPT. And there's a new food safety warning to be aware of. Nate's Fine Foods has expanded its recall of several prepared pasta products after they were linked to 6 deaths and more than 24 illnesses caused by listeria contamination. The products were sold at major grocery chains across the country, and a full list of the recalled items is available in the show notes below. Here's your stock market update from yesterday. The Nasdaq climbed almost 0.5%, while the S&P 500 inched up about 0.2%. The Dow Jones slipped nearly 0.5%. Bitcoin dropped close to 4%, falling to just over 106,000, while gold gained nearly 1%, closing out at about $4,018 per ounce. And one of the day's biggest movers was Cipher Mining, which surged almost 22% after announcing a massive $5.5 billion 15-year lease deal with Amazon Web Services, a major boost for the cryptocurrency infrastructure company. In sports news, let's start with college football. Utah, Texas, and Oklahoma were the biggest winners in this week's AP poll, each climbing 7 spots after taking down ranked opponents. Tennessee didn't fare as well, dropping 9 spots to number 23 after its loss to Oklahoma, the biggest slide of any team this week. You can see the complete poll in today's show notes. Over in Major League Baseball, the Chicago Cubs led the way with 3 Golden Globe Awards for the 2025 season. Left fielder Ian Happ took home his 4th straight Gold Glove. Pretty impressive consistency in the field. And in the NFL, Jacksonville Jaguars kicker Cam Little made history on Sunday with a 68-yard field goal against the Las Vegas Raiders, the longest in league history. This season has already seen 7 kicks of 60 yards or more, the most ever at just the halfway point of the season. In science and tech, Jeff Bezos says millions of people could be living in space within a few decades, and he's pitching his company's Orbital Reef Station as the first big step in that direction. The private facility, which aims to be operational by 2030, would orbit Earth as a mix between a business hub, tourist destination, and research center. Next, a new study found that adults over 65 who used the speed-focused Brain HQ app every day showed a strong boost in a key brain system linked to memory and attention. The researchers say this activity helps explain why consistent mental training could support sharper thinking in older adults, especially when combined with a healthy lifestyle. And in Australia, scientists have created a new type of roof coating that reflects 97% of sunlight and actually pulls water straight from the air. In field tests, it kept buildings up to 11 degrees cooler and generated more than a gallon of water per day for every 129 square feet of surface. The developers say it could help homes stay cooler and more sustainable in hot, dry climates. Here are a few more stories to wrap up your day. 3-time Oscar nominee Diane Ladd, known for her roles in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and Wild at Heart, has passed away at the age of 89. Her daughter, actress Laura Dern, shared that Ladd died peacefully at home in California, describing her as, quote, a profound gift of a mother. In New York, with Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani now leading in the city's mayoral polls, wealthy residents are reportedly rushing to buy homes just outside the city, sparking bidding wars and record prices in nearby Westchester, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And finally, a poem called The Chaos from 1920 is gaining attention online again. It's a hilariously frustrating look at the inconsistencies of English spelling and pronunciation. It was written by a Dutch man, Gerald Nolst Trente, and it's filled with nearly 800 tongue-twisting examples that stump even fluent speakers. If you want to put yourself to the test, you certainly can. I've linked it in the show notes below. Good luck. All right, here's the results of yesterday's poll question. What kind of last name do you have? 32% said you have an ancestral last name. 31% said other, not sure. 14% said occupational. 12% said geographical. And another 12% said descriptive. Thanks to everyone who voted. And here's the poll question for today. We've been talking a lot about voting, so are you voting today? Yes, no, already did, or maybe. Personally, I'm absolutely voting today. It is so important to vote in your local elections. I feel like your voice can have more of an impact on the local level. So yes, I will be voting today. And speaking of voting, you can vote in this poll in the show notes below, and I will read the answers in tomorrow's episode. Here's the very interesting and fun trivia question. Which future president, while running for state office, spent nearly his entire campaign budget on booze? That would be George Washington. He spent nearly his entire campaign budget on 28 gallons of rum, 50 gallons of rum punch. I don't know why I'm singing this, but 34 gallons of wine, 46 gallons of beer, and 2 gallons of cider royal served to 391 voters, nearly a half gallon per voter. His campaign even rolled barrels of liquor to polling places on Election Day, a custom in Virginia at the time. The practice of winning over voters with booze was widespread despite being technically illegal. That is all for today's episode of the Flyover Podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in and catching up on the news with me. Don't forget, check out jointheflyover.com for more coverage and your state's edition of the newsletter. I'm Ayla Brown. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks, as always, for flying with us.